Next module is electric traction and speed time curves. The contents covered in this video are Introduction to electric traction, systems of traction, systems of electric traction, and speed time curves for train movement. In earlier stage of the development of electric traction, two systems were in use. One was DC at 1500 volt or 3000 volt, and the other was single phase AC at 11 kilovolt to 16 kilovolt using low frequency. So the reason for adopting low frequency rather than the 50 Hz standard frequency is because the series wound commutator motor gave satisfactory operation for frequency up to 25 cycles, and hence low frequency was suitable for the hydro generators of the railways, which had to generate their own power because there were no national grids. The frequency used in Europe is 16 2/3 cycles, which is 1/3 of the standard 50 cycle frequency, and it can be easily obtained using rotary converters. In USA, 25 cycles frequency was adopted for traction purpose. The DC series motors, they have ideal characteristics for traction purpose. Earlier, DC motors were in use for tramways, and in the year 1905, due to the better performance of DC series motor, which was due to the introduction of interpoles and adoption of higher voltages with increased spacing of the substation, the traction system became more economical. These two systems, they grew side by side, but the development in converting apparatus like the 50 cycle rotary converters and the mercury arc rectifiers made the application of DC system more efficient and attractive compared to AC system, which did not gain further favor. Also in AC schemes, the advantage is that is conversion of power from one voltage to another conveniently using the static transformers. And the overhead system, it can be supplied at a high voltage, and due to low current, smaller conductor section can be used. Also, spacing of the substation can be large without causing much voltage drop. Next topic is systems of traction. The various systems of traction are discussed below. The first one is direct steam engine system. This system was extensively used for railway works. The power required for the locomotive was supplied by the reciprocating steam engine which was on the locomotive. The advantages of the system are the initial cost is low compared to the other systems, and the haulage capacity is very high when compared with the direct, that is engine driven and battery operated vehicles. This locomotive, that is the locomotive having reciprocating steam engine or direct steam engine, it is self-contained unit. That means it generates its own power, therefore it is not tied to any particular track or route, and hence it can be operated anywhere. Next is the speed control arrangement of the system is very simple, and there will be no interference with the telecommunication networks adjoining the track. The disadvantages are the cost of maintenance is high because of the heat produced in the steam engine. The steam locomotive, it has limited capacity. Therefore, the speed attained by the steam locomotive will be less compared to that of electric locomotive. The efficiency of the system, it is low, about 6 to 8%, which results in higher running cost. This system is not a clear drive because of production of coal, dust and ash. So there is lot of pollution caused. There is wear and tear of the track due to the weight of the reciprocating part, which is unbalanced. And the steam engine, it needs warming up before it is put into service. Next system is direct internal combustion engine system. So this system is common in road transport vehicles like trucks, buses, cars. It is suitable for road and light railway works, but it is not suitable for heavy work on railways. The advantages are it has low initial cost and it is a self-contained unit. The speed control with the gear arrangement, it is simple. The efficiency of this system is about 25% and it is higher than the steam engine system. Also, the braking arrangement is quite simple. The disadvantages are the life of the engine is comparatively small due to the heat produced in the engine. The overload capacity, it is limited because of the speed torque characteristic. The IC engine, it has a practically constant torque at all speeds. Therefore, an engine with high starting torque will not be loaded to its full capacity during running. This will require some form of torque converter like gear. The maintenance and running cost is quite high. Next system is steam electric system. So on experimental basis, locomotives have been built in which steam turbine drives the generator which supplies current to the electric motors. There are few mechanical difficulties and complications which results in the system not being used. Next system is internal combustion engine with electric drive. So the internal combustion engine, like the diesel engine, it is coupled to the DC generator which will supply power to the DC traction motors. This is used in the Indian Railways. Advantages of this system: the initial cost is low compared to the systems with track electrification by overhead wires, because the overhead wires and their supporting structure, substations and other equipments are eliminated in this particular system. The haulage capacity is high compared to steam locomotive. There is no need of extra time to start up the engine and put it on service, like the case of steam locomotives. The time required for the maintenance work is less, which is about 5 to 10% of the working duty. The efficiency of the system is around 25%. The disadvantages of the system are: the diesel engine, it has shorter lifespan due to the combustion taking place, and the overload capacity of the engine is limited. Also, the operating, that is running, and maintenance cost is high. In countries where the diesel is not cheaper, this system will add on to the economy of the country due to the import of diesel oil. Next system is battery electric drive. So in this, a bank of batteries or DC accumulators is used, which is carried in the vehicle itself. So this bank of batteries will supply power to the DC motor which drives the vehicle. These vehicles are not used for railways, but they find application in mines, factories and ports. The major limitation in this system is the small capacity of the batteries and the need of charging them frequently. Next topic is electrification of track. So track electrification means power is supplied to the vehicle from an overhead wire which is suspended above the track. There are a number of systems of track electrification. The advantages: this is the cleanest when compared to other types of traction systems, which makes it an ideal choice for underground railways. To deal with given volume of traffic, that is suburban traffic, the frequency at which the trains has to be run should be high, which requires faster acceleration and braking. An electric locomotive, it is possible to accelerate at a rate of 3.2 to 5.4 km per hour per second when compared to a steam locomotive whose acceleration rate is about 0.6 to 1.2 km per hour per second. An electric vehicle, it requires less time for maintenance when compared to steam locomotive, and the cost of maintenance is also less, about 50%. Also, electric vehicle can be put in service immediately, whereas the steam locomotive requires time for warming up. The electric traction, it is healthier from the hygienic point of view because there is no production of smoke or fumes. Also, the plant, equipment and buildings doesn't get damaged due to the corrosive action of smoke and fumes. The electric braking, it is far better when compared to mechanical braking since it avoids wear on the wheels, brake shoes and track. Also, the regenerative braking, where part of the energy is returned to the supply, results in a saving in the overall energy consumption. The disadvantages of track electrification are: the electric traction, it has high capital cost compared to steam locomotive because of the initial outlay or of conversion from steam to electric traction. In colder weather, the steam locomotive can be used for heating the compartment of the train cheaply, whereas in electric train, the heating has to be done at an extra cost. when AC system is used for traction, the communication lines which are running parallel to the track will have interference from the power lines. Therefore, adequate protection should be provided, and also the cost of substations, overhead lines and supports, it can be eliminated in the case of diesel electric traction, but the fuel should be available at a cheaper price to make the system feasible for economic operation. Next topic is system of electric traction. So there are two types of vehicles used in electric traction. One type is which receive power from the distribution network, and the second type is they generate their own power. So the first type of vehicles utilize AC or DC supply, and the second type examples are diesel electric car or train, petrol electric truck and lorry, and battery driven vehicles. Next topic is speed time curves for train movement. The actual run of a train, it can be graphically represented by speed time curve. So the speed time curve is plot of speed in kilometer per hour with respect to time in second. The speed time curve, it has following parts: acceleration, constant speed of free running, coasting and retardation due to braking. So a typical speed time curve is as shown in the figure. The curve, it is divided into 5 portions. So the first time duration OA, it denotes the acceleration during notching up period, that is curve from 0 to 1. During this period, the traction motor is put into acceleration from rest and current is drawn by the motors and track to effort is constant. This period is notching up period. Next time duration is AB, that is the acceleration on the speed curve, the curve from 1 to 2. After the starting operation of the motors is over, the train will continue to accelerate along the curve from 1 to 2. So the train accelerates till it attains the maximum speed, and the torque, it falls as the speed increases according to the speed torque characteristic of the motor, and the train will reach the speed finally at which the tractive effort will equal the resistance offered to the train motion, that is at point 2. Next time duration is BC, that is the free running or constant speed period. It indicates the free running period where the train will run at a constant speed, that is curve from 2 to 3. And next time duration is CD, that is curve 3 to 4, which is the coasting period. So at point 3 the power is cut off and train runs due to its own kinetic energy, and there is retardation in the speed of the train during the coasting period because of friction offered to the train movement. Next time duration is DE, which is the braking retardation, curve from 4 to 5. So during this period the brakes are applied to bring the train to rest. So there are different speed time curves for the different locomotives. So the different services are city service, where distance between the stops is about 0.5 kilometer. And the speed time curve has the acceleration period, coasting period and braking period. And then we have the suburban service where the distance between stops is 3 to 5 km and the speed time curve has acceleration period, coasting period, braking period. And then we have the mainline service where the distance between stops is greater than 5 km and the speed time curve has acceleration period, free running period, coasting period and braking period. Next is simplified speed time curves. So the actual speed time curve will be approximated using straight line approximation to get the simplified speed time curve. So the actual speed time curve will be replaced by the equivalent speed time curve with simple geometric shape. Since the area of the speed time curve gives the total distance travelled, the area of the two curves should be equal. So we have the first speed time curve, that is trapezoidal speed time curve. So the speed time curve of mainline service is simplified and we get the trapezoidal speed time curve. So the curve is as shown. So we have the simplified speed time curve for mainline service, which is trapezoidal speed time curve. So here the acceleration period is approximated using straight line and also the coasting and braking period is approximated using straight line. So we have the maximum speed Vm, that is the maximum speed attained by the train. Let us see the terms used in the speed time curve. So let d be the distance between stops in kilometer, which is actually the distance travelled by the train in kilometer, and t is the actual time of run in seconds. Alpha is the acceleration in kilometer per hour per second. Beta is the retardation in kilometer per hour per second. Vm is the maximum speed which is attained by the train in kilometer per hour. Va is the average speed in kilometer per hour. Va is equal to distance by time, which is equal to 3600 d by t. since distance is t and time is t by 3600 in hours. Then we have t1, it is time for acceleration in seconds. It is given by Vm by alpha. T3, it is time for retardation in seconds. It is given by Vm by beta. T2 is the time for free running in seconds. We have the actual time of run t equal to t1 plus t2 plus t3. Therefore, t2, that is the time for free running, is t minus t1 plus t3. So we have the speed time curve as shown in the figure. So this is the maximum speed Vm. So the area of the trapezium or area under the curve gives the distance traveled or distance between the stops. So D is equal to area of triangle OAF plus area of rectangle ABEF plus area of triangle BCE. So D is given by the equation half Vm into T1 by 3600 plus Vm T2 by 3600 plus half Vm T3 by 3600. So D is equal to half Vm by 3600 into Vm by alpha plus Vm T2 by 3600 plus half Vm by 3600 into Vm by beta, because T1 is equal to Vm by alpha and T3 is equal to Vm by beta. So D is equal to Vm square by 7200 alpha plus Vm by 3600 T2 plus Vm square by 7200 beta. That is D is equal to Vm square by 7200 alpha plus Vm by 3600 into T2 is nothing but T minus T1 plus T3 plus Vm square by 7200 beta. So D is equal to Vm square by 7200 alpha plus Vm T by 3600 minus Vm by 3600 into Vm by alpha minus Vm by 3600 into Vm by beta plus Vm square by 7200 beta, that is D is equal to Vm square by 7200 alpha minus Vm square by 3600 alpha plus Vmt by 3600 plus Vm square by 7200 beta minus Vm square by 3600 beta. So D is equal to Vmt by 3600 minus Vm square by 7200 alpha minus Vm square by 7200 beta. So this is nothing but Vmt by 3600 minus Vm square by 7200 alpha minus Vm square by 7200 beta equal to D, or it is Vm square by 7200 alpha plus Vm square by 7200 beta minus Vmt by 3600 plus D equal to 0. So we get multiplying by 7200 Vm square by alpha plus Vm square by beta minus 2 Vmt plus 7200 D equal to 0. So we get Vm square into 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta minus 2 Vmt plus 7200 D equal to 0. Substitute for 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta by k. So we get Vm square k minus 2 Vmt plus 7200 D equal to 0. So this is a quadratic equation and we get the roots Vm as 2t plus or minus square root of 4t square minus 4k into 7200 D by 2k. So we get the equation for Vm as t by k plus or minus square root of t by k square minus 7200 D by k, where k is 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta. Here the positive sign will not be used since it will give higher value of Vm, which will not be a practical case. Therefore, we get the equation for Vm as t by k minus square root of t by k square minus 7200 D by k. Suppose we have to find alpha and beta if the average speed is given. We have the equation of D as Vmt by 3600 minus Vm square by 7200 alpha minus Vm square by 7200 beta. So we have the equation written as 3600D equal to Vmt minus Vm square by 2 alpha minus Vm square by 2 beta. So we have Vm square by 2 into 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta minus Vmt plus 3600D equal to 0. Or we have 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta equal to 2 Vmt by Vm square minus 7200D by Vm square. We have 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta equal to 2T by Vm minus 7200D by Vm square. We have the equation for Va as 3600D by T, which implies T equal to 3600D by Va. So the equation of 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta is equal to 2 into 3600D by Va by Vm minus 7200D by Vm square, or we have 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta equal to 7200D by Vm Va minus 7200D by Vm square, that is equal to 7200D by Vm square into Vm by Va minus 1. So using this equation, either the value of alpha or beta can be determined. Next speed time curve is quadrilateral speed time curve. So the speed time curve for urban and suburban service is simplified to the quadrilateral speed time curve, which is as shown in the figure. So we have the acceleration period approximated to straight line. The curve OA represents it, and we have the coasting period simplified to straight line represented by AB in the curve, and we have the braking period, which is simplified to straight line approximation, BC curve. And the maximum speed of the vehicle is V1, and we have one more speed, that is speed at the end of coasting period, that is V2. The terms used in the speed time curve are: D is the distance between stops in kilometer. T is the actual time of run in seconds. Alpha is the acceleration in kilometer per hour per second. Beta C is the coasting retardation in kilometer per hour per second. Beta is the braking retardation in kilometer per hour per second. V1 is the speed in kilometer per hour per second at the end of accelerating period. Which is denoted at the point A in the curve. V2 is the speed in kilometer per hour at the end of coasting period. T1 is the time for acceleration in seconds. It is given by the equation V1 by alpha. T3 is the time for braking in seconds. It is given by V2 by beta. T2 is the time for coasting retardation in seconds. It is given by V1 minus V2 by beta C. The total distance traveled D is given by the area under the speed time curve. So total distance traveled is equal to area of the quadrilateral OABC. So D is equal to half V1 T1 by 3600 plus half V1 minus V2 T2 by 3600 plus V2 T2 by 3600 plus half V2 T3 by 3600. So D is equal to half V1 T1 by 3600 plus half V1 T2 by 3600 minus half V2 T2 by 3600 plus V2 T2 by 3600 plus half V2 T3 by 3600. That is D is equal to half V1 T1 by 3600 plus half V1 plus V2 T2 by 3600 plus half V2 T3 by 3600, that is equal to V1 by 7200 into T1 plus V1 by 7200 T2 plus V2 by 7200 T2 plus V2 by 7200 T3, that is equal to V1 by 7200 into T1 plus T2 plus V2 by 7200 into T2 plus T3. We know that the actual time of run T is T1 plus T2 plus T3. Therefore, T1 plus T2 is equal to T minus T3 and T2 plus T3 is equal to T minus T1. Substituting this in the equation of D, we get D equal to V1 by 7200 into T minus T3 plus V2 by 7200 into T minus T1, that is D equal to V1T by 7200 minus V1T3 by 7200 plus V2T by 7200 minus V2T1 by 7200. So D is equal to T by 7200 into V1 plus V2 minus V1 by 7200 into V2 by beta minus V2 by 7200 into V1 by alpha, that is D is equal to T by 7200 into V1 plus V2 minus V1 V2 by 7200 beta minus V1 V2 by 7200 alpha. So we get D equal to T by 7200 into V1 plus V2 minus V1 V2 by 7200 into 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta. Therefore, we get the distance travelled D equal to 1 by 7200 into T into V1 plus V2 minus V1 V2 into 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta. We have the equation for time for coasting period T2 equal to V1 minus V2 by beta C, which gives us V2 equal to V1 minus beta C into T2. So we have T2 equal to T minus T1 plus T3, which is equal to T minus V1 by alpha plus V2 by beta. Therefore, we have V2 equal to V1 minus beta C into T2, that is T minus V1 by alpha plus V2 by beta. So V2 equal to V1 minus beta C T plus beta C by alpha V1 plus beta C by beta V2. Therefore, we get V2 into 1 minus beta C by beta equal to V1 into 1 plus beta C by alpha minus beta C T. Therefore, V2 into beta minus beta C by beta is equal to V1 into 1 plus beta C by alpha minus beta C T. Therefore, we get V2 equal to beta by beta minus beta C into V1 into 1 plus beta C by alpha minus beta C T. Thank you.